Hey guys, I just wanted to put a little bit of narration into this video so it's not so boring. So I kind of thought about this pose for a couple days since I had to do other things meanwhile, and I sort of just did it by feeling it. I don't know, like I didn't use any specific reference. So I noticed the torso was kind of off. I kind of measured here, grabbed an old reference picture I worked on, and basically, yeah, it was missing the bottom part of the torso, and I was struggling with the head, so I grabbed some reference and trying to kind of mimic that, and good enough, right? So we start putting on these clothes, and right now it's just more like a sketch. I wanted her to be like in a really fierce pose, because I wanted this last piece for the challenge to be scary because it's Halloween. It's on the 30th, so I really wanted it to be scary, even though the theme for this was autumn leaves. I still, like all the other themes were also kind of, they didn't have a really scary theme, so I wanted to have her be like in a dark forest and sort of like that, so I wanted her to be on guard, so to speak. And I wanted to try out a style I tried on like the third day of this challenge, where it's like I sketch and I put color right on top of it. So and the thing is that it's supposed to be faster because I skip over the actual outline. Since I usually go from sketch to outline to flat color, I just skip the outline part, and it comes out really interesting. So you can see here I'm gonna start on the coloring, and well, in case you want to see more of this, I stream somewhat regularly. I'm gonna start on a schedule pretty soon, so if you want to catch me on Twitch, you can follow me there, inavcl. But yeah, this challenge has been really tough for me. I had to make, in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I have to make 15 pieces for October for an event for the Anniversary group in DeviantArt, in case you guys want to check it out. You can see all the pieces I made in Instagram or Twitter or DeviantArt or whichever platform you like best. I only recorded 2 of these videos because those were the ones I mostly stream. Usually I just forget to record, or I'm doing a lot of other stuff at the same time, so it doesn't make sense to go through so much editing of it, like in my opinion. But for this, I mostly streamed it, so it was much easier to edit the slower parts and put it together. And I really like this character. I don't think they put this character up on the specific request for autumn leaves, but I was like, I kept looking at this character and I'm like, I really want to make art for this character. I don't know if I'll have time to cover her or not, because a lot of the characters I chose were really difficult, and I felt like she was also really difficult, but I was like, I love this character, this warrior that fights with fire, and they have like a really nice story where it says they train on their Vesta, which is another fiery phoenix character, and it's really nice. Like, I'm totally into it, so I wanted to give them a little piece of art. And I also oh man, this challenge has been crazy for me. I barely got it done on time. I'm supposed to turn this in tomorrow, and I'm like, I gotta get it done. But really, thank you everybody for having such amazing characters to draw. Like, I just loved every single one of the characters I got to draw for this challenge. I'm really happy about that. And yeah, we're almost halfway done with this flat coloring part. I believe this took me 2 whole days, just dedicated full on drawing, so like about 16 hours, more or less. I'd have to check the exact number, but I'm not gonna check it right now since I want to stay here talking with you guys. And what else could I possibly say? I mean, this was really interesting because the first one I did was also more of a illustrator specific flat color style. You know how some people do illustration with vectors? That's how I did the first flat coloring. But this one I did straight in Clip Studio art. Or is it Clip Studio Paint? I don't even remember the program I use anymore. Yes, Clip Studio Paint it's called. And it was really interesting. I think I'm gonna keep this style going. I really feel like I can improve more on what I'm doing here with this style, but it's definitely a bit easier than doing the outlines, you know, and it looks a bit cleaner than using the outlines. Here I'm trying to kind of get the feeling for the cape, the pattern on the cape. Oh man, every detail about this character is also really interesting. I like how they have like these tiny, I think it's a Virgo symbol, just these tiny symbols everywhere, like on the chest plate and on the cape and on the shield and all these other places. So yeah, it's really nice character. And I think we're gonna start rendering soon as well. Here we go. Here's where the rendering starts. And actually, you'll see there's gonna be a part in around 2 more minutes where I didn't record 3 hours of the rendering. So if it looks like it just jumps for a second, I'm sorry about that. Man, this part of the hair, I used to not like drawing hair because I didn't understand how it works, but I feel like with this challenge, like maybe it's not perfect yet, but I feel like I've improved so much in this part, like drawing, having the colors mesh in and starting like from a darker color and going to a lighter color. And then with the faces, I've improved so much. My faces looked so bad. Like if you take a look at the very first drawing of the challenge I did, it doesn't even look like a face. It looks like a cartoon that got their face smashed. Even though it's still a really cute drawing I did for the challenge, this, like, I improved so much because I learned about where the shading goes on the face. Even though it sounds something like so simple, there's actually a lot of shading on the face. And then there's a blush, and like, by no means this is perfect, but I feel like I'm improving so much just by all these art pieces I got to do. And I also I kind of left the hands last because, as you can see here, I'm just really struggling. I couldn't really find the right reference. I'm just like, no, this isn't really working here. I'm trying it. I got it in my head, but no, this is not working. So I left it last. I was just like, forget about it. I'll do it later. Yeah, sometimes like when something doesn't work out how I imagine it, like the hands, I get really frustrated. So I've learned to just let it go. Like here's where it just skips. And I shaded a lot of stuff in there and recorded. So like I was saying, with the hands, it's just, you know, you gotta leave it, move on, keep going, and come back to it later. So it was the very last thing I did. It was the hands. So yeah, at least here you can see some of the similar shading I did for the brown chest plates and the shoulder plates and all those things. But I mean, you know, it's like a repeated process where the light's coming in, where the dark's coming in. And since it's gonna be in a really dark background, I mean, it doesn't need, you know, the perfect tiny details. So, and here I'm doing the golden shines, so it looks kind of interesting and intricate. And here I'm adding just a texture I bought from Etsy onto the cape, because it felt like just coloring over it wasn't coming out how I imagined it. So I put it over the texture and kind of colored over the pieces that weren't fitting in correctly. And finally we get to, I think, the last part of the rendering, the weapon, you know. And I feel like this weapon is really inspiring. my favorite part has gotta be the lightning. Like I was like, I gotta put some cool lightning effect at the end of this, you know, how it shines and make it glowing and have it affect the surroundings and all this other stuff in my head, you know. So I'm just kind of finishing up the last little details here before we move on to the hands. So what I had to do with the hands in the end was take a picture of myself. So you're gonna see a picture of my hands. So yeah, and like I said, I love these lightning details for sure. And since we're almost there done, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a picture of my hand and just copy what I see, you know. It's like I see a shading here, I see light here, and you know what, I think the hands came out better than the whole drawing. Like, I put so much time into it. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make this look so good. And it looks pretty good. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think the hands in the background ended up being my favorite thing in the whole drawing. So yeah, I'm really glad I got to draw this character. It was so much fun. Oh man. And oh yeah, for the background, so I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but you'll see I finished the hand up pretty quickly here. For the background, I tried a lot of stuff. In the end, I couldn't find any tree brush I like in Clip Studio Paint, so I ended up having to move it back to Photoshop because I used to use Photoshop before, and I have a lot of old brushes in Photoshop, and I knew I had the brushes in Photoshop that I needed, right? So in a couple of moments you're gonna see me switch to Photoshop to draw the background, and then switch back to Clip Studio Paint to add like a couple of sparkles and details and the smaller things, you know. So here I'm gonna be, you know, trying out maybe something like this or tree brushes. No, I can't find anything. You know what, I'll just save it and let's go to Photoshop. And as you can see, I'm gonna have all these awesome brushes that just come, you know, tree magic, bam, it's there. I don't need to do anything more, you know. Blur it out, put some grass, dead grass, make it scary, put a little bit of color, just like a hint of color, put some leaves so it makes sense because the theme is autumn leaves, so I have to have like these colorful leaves. And I didn't know how colorful to make it because I wanted it to be scary and spooky, like Halloween, you know? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, maybe we'll have like animals and eyes, and maybe she's just like, who's there? And so I lowered, I gave her a little more of darkness and these highlights and all these shiny things. And then I'm like, okay, let's add some color. And, you know, the eyes were too much, so I just added these two. And that's it. Thanks guys for watching. Really, I hope if you need to look at it, come check me out. DeviantArt, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, I'm on all of those. Thanks.